The alarms echoed through the quiet halls of Earth Defense Force Command, their shrill tones breaking the peaceful morning routine. The massive viewing screens cast a blue glow across the command center as officers rushed to their stations, their boots clicking against the polished floor. Admiral Park Hannah walked with measured steps to the central platform, her dark uniform crisp and perfect. She was not a tall woman, but her presence commanded attention. The holographic display before her showed the solar system in miniature, with several unknown objects appearing at its edges. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. Captain Kim Dae's fingers moved swiftly across his control panel, bringing up detailed scans. His normally cheerful face was serious as he studied the readings. "Admiral, we're picking up multiple vessels entering the system. They're like nothing we've ever seen before. The energy signatures are off the charts." The command center staff watched in silence as the alien fleet emerged from what looked like tears in space itself. Their ships were beautiful in an alien way, sleek vessels that seemed to shimmer with colors that shouldn't exist, their hulls catching and reflecting the distant sunlight in impossible patterns. The lead ship alone was massive, dwarfing Earth's largest vessels. "Incoming transmission," announced Lieutenant Song, her hand steady at the communication station. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Admiral Park nodded. "Put it through." The voice that filled the command center was artificially translated, but the arrogance in it came through clearly. "Primitive species, your world has been selected for integration into the Stellar Coalition. Your technological level has been assessed and found wanting. Surrender your sovereignty immediately, or face the consequences of defiance." Several junior officers exchanged worried glances, but Admiral Park's expression didn't change. She had spent years preparing for this moment, knowing that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. The plans were in place. The weapons were ready. Most importantly, the Celestial Dawn was ready. She turned to her executive officer. "Commander Lee, send the alert to all Earth Defense Force installations. Bring our planetary shield to full power." She paused, allowing herself a small smile. "And deploy the Celestial Dawn. It's time to show our visitors what Earth hospitality looks like." Commander Lee nodded and began issuing orders. Throughout the command center, officers moved with practiced efficiency, their training taking over. Outside, in the massive underground dock, lights began coming on along the hull of humanity's greatest achievement, the Celestial Dawn. The alien fleet continued its approach, spreading out in an attack formation that revealed their military expertise. They clearly expected no real resistance. Their scans would show them Earth's visible defenses, the orbital platforms, the conventional fleet, all carefully designed to look precisely as advanced as they would expect from a primitive civilization. What their scans couldn't show them was the true strength waiting in that underground dock. The Celestial Dawn represented decades of secret technological development, combining discoveries that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. Admiral Park watched the tactical display, noting how the alien ships positioned themselves. Their formation was perfect, textbook even, and that told her more about them than any scan could. They were confident, experienced, and utterly unprepared for what was coming. Launch countdown initiated. Captain Kim announced. "Celestial Dawn reports all systems green." Admiral Park clasped her hands behind her back, her posture perfect as she watched the aliens approach. They had come expecting to find easy prey. Instead, they would learn a lesson about underestimating humanity. She thought about all the years of preparation, all the secret advances, all leading to this moment. "Send one final message to the alien fleet," she ordered. "Tell them, your terms are noted. Please stand by for our response." The massive doors of the underground dock began to open, revealing the ship that would change everything. The Celestial Dawn rose from its berth, its hull gleaming with the same strange iridescence as the alien vessels. But this was no copy of their technology. This was something entirely new. And as the alien fleet watched humanity's response emerge, none of them realized they were about to discover exactly how wrong they had been about Earth's capabilities. Admiral Park allowed herself a moment of satisfaction as she watched their first line of ships adjust their positions, clearly preparing to deal with what they assumed would be a simple inferior vessel. "Let's show them what humanity can do," she said quietly. "Celestial Dawn, you are cleared to engage under Protocol 1. The game was about to begin, and Earth was playing with a deck the aliens didn't even know existed. The underground research facility beneath Mount Pektu hummed with energy as scientists and engineers worked tirelessly in its sprawling laboratories. 6 months before the alien arrival, this hidden complex had become the birthplace of humanity's greatest technological leap. Dr. Lee Sun stood before the testing chamber, his silver-streaked hair reflecting the blue glow of the quantum shield prototype. Decades of research had led to this moment. Behind the reinforced glass, a miniature version of the shield sparkled like a soap bubble, bending light in ways that seemed to defy physics itself. "The energy readings are stable," Dr. Kang Mi announced from her station, her eyes bright with excitement. She had spent countless nights perfecting the particle beam system, and now their combined technologies were showing results that exceeded their wildest expectations. The test chamber lit up as they fired a concentrated energy beam at the shield. Instead of dissipating or reflecting the energy, the shield absorbed and redirected it, exactly as their theories had predicted. The monitoring systems displayed numbers that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. "Record everything," Dr. Lee instructed his team. "The World Council will want to see these results." He smiled at Dr. Kang, who had become more than just a colleague during their years of work together. "We did it, Mai. We actually did it." Their breakthrough wasn't just about defense. The same principles that made the quantum shield possible also allowed for weapons that could disable rather than destroy, and engines that could slip between the normal laws of physics. All of this technology would be incorporated into humanity's new flagship, the Celestial Dawn. In the massive construction facility adjacent to the research complex, the Celestial Dawn took shape. Its outer hull was deliberately designed to look almost ordinary, hiding the revolutionary systems within. Workers in protective suits carefully installed the quantum shield generators and particle beam arrays, each component tested and retested to ensure perfect function. Admiral Park Hannah visited the facility regularly during construction, learning everything she could about the ship she would command. She spent hours with the scientific team, understanding not just how the technology worked, but why it worked. Her questions impressed even Dr. Lee with their insight. "You understand," Dr. Lee had told her during one of their briefings, "this ship isn't just a weapon. It's a statement about who we are as a species." Admiral Park had nodded, watching the construction through the observation window. "That's why the World Council chose this name. Dawn represents hope, new beginnings. We're building this ship not to start wars, but to prevent them." The World Council had been unanimous in selecting Admiral Park to command the Celestial Dawn. Her record showed not just tactical brilliance, but a deep understanding of diplomacy and human nature. She had resolved 3 potential conflicts through negotiation alone, earning respect from both allies and former opponents. During the final stages of construction, the World Council gathered in the underground facility for their last inspection. Representatives from every nation stood in awe as Dr. Lee and Dr. Kang demonstrated the ship's capabilities. "Our strength lies not in destruction, but in protection," the Council President had declared, words that would become the unofficial motto of the Celestial Dawn project. "This ship represents the best of humanity, our intelligence, our creativity, and our desire for peaceful coexistence." Those words stayed with Admiral Park as she walked the completed ship's corridors for the first time. The Celestial Dawn felt alive under her feet, its systems humming with potential. In the bridge, she found Dr. Lee making final adjustments to the quantum shield controls. "Is she ready?" she asked, running her hand along the smooth surface of the captain's chair. Dr. Lee straightened up, looking proudly at his life's work. "More than ready, Admiral. Everything we've learned, everything we've created, it's all here. This ship can protect Earth from any threat." Admiral Park took her place in the command chair, feeling the responsibility settle onto her shoulders. The Celestial Dawn was more than just a ship. It was humanity's insurance policy, their guarantee that Earth would never be helpless against outside threats. "Run the final system checks," she ordered. "I want to know this ship inside and out before we need her." None of them knew then how soon that need would come. But as the Celestial Dawn systems powered up for its first full test, humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe. They would not be found wanting when the time came to prove themselves. The future of Earth rested within these walls of advanced alloys and quantum fields, ready to show any who came calling that humanity was far more than they appeared to be. The massive alien vessels moved into position with practiced ease, spreading out like a giant pair of pincers ready to trap their prey. Their silver hulls reflected the distant sunlight, creating an impressive display of power meant to intimidate the humans. Admiral Rian stood on his command deck, his posture relaxed as he watched the tactical display. His subordinates worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the single Earth vessel that dared to approach their fleet. The humans' response to their ultimatum was not what he had expected. "Look at this," he said, gesturing at the display. "They send one ship against our entire battle group. One ship against 30 of ours." He shook his head, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Their database said humans were stubborn, but this is beyond mere stubbornness. His second-in-command, Officer Tall, studied the readings from their scanners. "The vessel appears to be their newest design, Admiral, but its weapons and shield capabilities match what we expected from their technology level." The Celestial Dawn moved forward with smooth precision, its engines running in silent mode. Inside its bridge, the crew worked with focused determination. Captain Kim's fingers danced across his console as he tracked the alien fleet's movement patterns. "They're following standard military doctrine," he reported to Admiral Park, "spreading their forces to cut off our retreat while positioning their heavy weapons for a synchronized strike." He looked up from his display, just as our simulations predicted they would. Admiral Park stood at the center of the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the alien fleet's maneuvers. Years of preparation had taught them everything about how the coalition's military thought and acted. Their predictability would be their undoing. "Distance to optimal range?" she asked quietly. 3 minutes at current speed," Captain Kim replied. "Their targeting systems are active but not locked. They're still evaluating us." On the alien flagship, Admiral Rian continued to watch with growing amusement. "Send a final warning," he ordered. "Let them know the consequences of their foolishness." The message flashed across the Celestial Dawn's communication screen. "Your resistance is futile and illogical. Surrender now, and we will ensure your population's survival under coalition rule." Admiral Park read the message and allowed herself a small smile. "Send no response," she instructed. "Let them think we're being brave and foolish." The Celestial Dawn continued its approach, appearing to all outside observers as nothing more than a well-built but conventionally armed Earth vessel. Its true nature remained hidden behind layers of carefully designed sensor deflectors. "Admiral," Officer Tall reported from the alien flagship, "the Earth vessel is maintaining its course. Their power readings remain constant. They appear to be operating on standard propulsion and defense systems." Admiral Rian nodded, his amusement turning to slight irritation at the humans' apparent suicide mission. "Position our heavy cruisers for a warning shot. Let's show them exactly what they're facing." 3 massive alien vessels broke formation, their weapon systems powering up for a demonstration of force. The energy readings from their cannons would have made any normal Earth vessel turn back immediately. Inside the Celestial Dawn, Captain Kim watched the power spikes on his display. "They're preparing to fire warning shots, Admiral, all according to profile." Admiral Park's expression remained calm as she gave the order they had practiced countless times in simulation. "Initiate Protocol Omega. All stations, Prepare for phase shift. Throughout the ship, crew members activated systems that had never been used in actual combat. The quantum shield generators powered up silently, their energy carefully contained to avoid detection. The particle beam weapons remained dormant but ready. The alien fleet had no way of knowing that they weren't the hunters in this scenario. They had no idea that their carefully planned trap was about to snap shut on empty air, leaving them exposed to capabilities they couldn't imagine. Warning shots authorized. Admiral Rion commanded, "Show these humans the futility of their resistance." As the alien weapons prepared to fire, Admiral Park settled into her command chair. Years of preparation had led to this moment. The celestial dawn was about to show the galaxy that humanity was far more than anyone had expected. "All stations report ready," Captain Kim announced. "Phase shift systems at full power." Admiral Park's voice was steady as she gave the order that would change everything. "Execute Protocol Omega. Let's show our visitors what humanity is truly capable of." The real battle was about to begin, and only one side knew what was actually about to happen. The massive energy beams from the alien vessels lit up space like artificial lightning, streaking toward the point where the celestial dawn had been just moments before. The alien gunners were experienced and their aim was perfect, but their targets struck nothing but empty space. On the alien flagship's bridge, the tactical officer blinked in confusion at his readings. "Admiral, our weapons, they passed right through their position, but there's no debris. No explosion. Nothing." Admiral Rian leaned forward in his command chair, his previous amusement vanishing. "Impossible. Check your instruments. Where is their ship?" The celestial dawn hung in space, less than a kilometer from its previous position, having shifted partially out of normal spacetime. The quantum displacement drive hummed quietly, maintaining the phase difference that made the ship appear to be little more than a ghost to conventional sensors. "Phase shift successful," Captain Kim reported, his voice steadied despite the historic moment. "All systems maintaining nominal performance. The alien fleet is continuing their attack pattern." Admiral Park watched as the alien vessels adjusted their positions, their confusion evident in their movements. "They're about to try another volley. Prepare the quantum interference wave." The alien fleet's second attack was more intense than the first, with multiple ships firing simultaneously to saturate the area where they had last detected the Earth vessel. Once again, their weapons passed harmlessly through empty space. "This is impossible," Admiral Rian muttered, standing now as he watched the tactical display. "No known technology can." He stopped mid-sentence as new alerts began blaring throughout his ship. The celestial dawn had reappeared, but now it was glowing with a soft blue light that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. Before the alien fleet could react, that blue glow expanded outward like a ripple in a pond. "Quantum interference wave deployed," Captain Kim announced on the Earth vessel's bridge. Target locks confirmed on their primary weapon systems. The wave of blue energy washed over the nearest alien ships. As it passed through their hulls, their lights flickered and died. Weapon systems went dark. Engine cores automatically shut down. The mighty vessels of the coalition fleet began drifting helplessly in space. Admiral Ren's bridge erupted in chaos as reports flooded in from the affected ships. Multiple vessels reporting complete system failures. His tactical officer shouted. No response from engines, weapons, or primary power. "Impossible," Ryan repeated, but there was no denying what he was seeing. "Launch fighters. Target that ship with everything we have." But the fighters never left their base. The quantum interference wave had already reached his flagship, passing through their shields as if they didn't exist. One by one, systems began shutting down as the wave disrupted the very principles their technology relied upon. Inside the celestial dawn, Admiral Park watched the tactical display as ship after ship went dark. The quantum interference wave was performing exactly as designed, disabling rather than destroying, demonstrating power through precision rather than destruction. "Sir," Captain Kim reported, 18 enemy vessels disabled. Their life support systems remain functional, but they have no weapons, no engines, and no communications. Admiral Park nodded, satisfied with the demonstration. Bring us alongside their flagship. Let's give them a closer look at what they're dealing with. The Celestial Dawn moved with graceful precision through the field of disabled ships, its blue glow now a steady pulse that illuminated the darkness of space. To the watching alien crews, it must have seemed like something from their worst nightmares, a vessel that could ignore their weapons and shut down their ships with nothing but a wave of energy. On the alien flagship's bridge, Admiral Rian watched helplessly as the Earth vessel approached. His mighty fleet, pride of the coalition, had been reduced to floating hulks by technology he couldn't even understand, and now the vessel responsible was moving into position right outside his bridge viewport. The message that came through their emergency backup communications was clear and calm. This is Admiral Park of the Earth Defense Force vessel Celestial Dawn. Your fleet has been disabled. Your weapons are offline. Your engines are shut down. Would you like to discuss terms for a peaceful resolution to this conflict? Admiral Rian stared out at the softly glowing ship that had just changed everything he thought he knew about humanity. The game had changed, and he was only now realizing that his side had never actually been the ones in control. The alien flagship's bridge was eerily quiet, except for the soft emergency lighting and backup systems. Admiral Rian stood at the main viewport, watching his once mighty fleet drift powerless in space. Each vessel's life support indicators glowed steady green, a deliberate message from the humans that they could have done far worse. Status report, he managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. His technical officer looked up from the emergency console. All 30 ships disabled, Admiral. Primary power is offline. Weapon systems are completely dead, but life support and artificial gravity are functioning perfectly. He paused, checking more readings. It's like they chose exactly what to shut down. The Celestial Dawn hung in space before them, its blue glow pulsing gently. The ship moved with precise grace between the disabled alien vessels, its quantum field now visible to the naked eye as a subtle distortion in space around its hull. Engineering reports they've never seen anything like this, another officer reported. Our systems weren't damaged. They were just turned off, like someone found the perfect frequency to silence them. Admiral Park's voice came through again on their emergency channels, calm and measured. Your fleet is disabled, but your crews are safe. We have no desire for conflict. Earth extends an invitation for peaceful dialogue between equals. The alien command staff looked at each other, their earlier confidence replaced by a mix of fear and wonder. Everything they had believed about humanity's technological level had been proven wrong in the span of minutes. How did we miss this? Ryan's second-in-command asked quietly. Our surveys showed them barely capable of interplanetary travel. Their weapons were primitive. Their shields were basic. Admiral Rian stared at the Earth vessel, understanding slowly dawning. They let us see what they wanted us to see. Everything we scanned, everything we detected, it was all a carefully constructed facade. On the Celestial Dawn's bridge, Admiral Park watched the alien flagship through their main viewport. Captain Kim's fingers moved across his console, monitoring the disabled fleet's status. All alien vessels maintaining stable life support, he reported. Their backup systems are functioning exactly as we predicted. No signs of panic or emergency launches. Admiral Park nodded, satisfied with the situation. Open a direct channel to Admiral Rian's command deck. Visual if they can manage it with their backup power. The main screen flickered to life, showing the alien bridge crew. Admiral Rian stood in the center, his posture still proud despite his situation. The difference in their technology levels was clearly visible. While the alien bridge was running on emergency power, the Celestial Dawn's systems hummed with energy. Admiral Rian, Park began, her tone respectful but firm. I trust your crew is comfortable. We were careful to ensure all life support and essential systems remained operational. Ryan's expression showed a mix of emotions: humiliation, fear, but also growing respect. "You could have destroyed us," he said simply. "We could have," Park agreed. "But that's not our way. Earth believes in peace through strength, not dominance through destruction." The alien admiral was quiet for a moment, studying the human commander. "Your technology. It's beyond anything in the Coalition's database. Those surveys showed exactly what we wanted them to show," Park finished for him. "Earth has learned through history that appearing weaker than you are can be an advantage. We knew someone would come eventually, thinking us easy prey." Around them, the disabled alien fleet hung in space like a monument to misunderstanding. Their mighty weapons and advanced shields had proven useless against Earth's quantum technology, but not a single life had been lost. "We offer you a choice," Admiral Park continued. "We can help you restore power to your vessels, and you can return to your coalition with a message. Earth is not to be underestimated, but we are willing to extend friendship to those who approach us as equals." The alien command staff exchanged glances again, but this time there was something new in their expressions: respect and perhaps a hint of hope. They had come expecting to find primitive beings ready for conquest. Instead, they had found equals who had outmaneuvered them completely. Admiral Ryan straightened his uniform and faced the screen. The time for arrogance was past. Now was the time for wisdom. "Admiral Park," he said formally, "I believe it's time we had that discussion about peace between our peoples." The neutral meeting space had been prepared aboard an Earth transport vessel, modified to accommodate both human and alien delegations comfortably. The room was simple but elegant, with a long table made of polished wood, a material that fascinated the alien visitors with its natural origin. Admiral Park sat on one side, with Captain Kim and Dr. Lee Sun beside her. Across the table, Admiral Ryan and his senior staff studied their human counterparts with newfound respect. Armed guards from both sides stood at attention near the walls, though their presence seemed more ceremonial than necessary after recent events. "Your demonstration was enlightening," Ryan began, his translated voice carrying a note of humility that would have been unthinkable days before. "We had based our assumptions about Earth on incomplete data." Admiral Park placed her hands on the table, her posture relaxed but dignified. "We could have destroyed your fleet," she said simply. "Every ship, every weapon could have been eliminated. Instead, we chose to show that true power lies not in destruction, but in the wisdom to avoid it when possible." The alien admiral nodded slowly, his eyes moving to the viewport where the celestial dawn hung in space, its quantum field creating a subtle aurora around its hull. "Your technology. It's unlike anything in the Coalition's database. Your quantum manipulation abilities are generations ahead of our own research." Dr. Lee Sun spoke up, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of a master scientist. "We discovered long ago that the path to advancement lies not in making bigger weapons, but in understanding the fundamental forces of the universe itself." The alien technical officer leaned forward with obvious interest. "The way you shifted out of phase with normal spacetime. Our sensors couldn't even track you. And that interference wave. Perhaps," Admiral Park suggested, "we could begin by discussing a scientific exchange program. Earth has much to offer, but we're also curious about your fold space drive technology." The tension in the room noticeably decreased as the conversation turned to technical matters. Both sides began sharing basic information about their capabilities, finding common ground in their pursuit of knowledge. "We had assumed," Ryan admitted, "that any civilization without fold space technology must be primitive. We were wrong. There are clearly many paths to advancement." Captain Kim pulled up a holographic display showing the solar system. Earth would be interested in establishing regular diplomatic relations with the Coalition, not as a subject world, but as an equal partner. The alien staff studied the display, noting the subtle indicators of Earth's defensive capabilities that they had missed in their initial surveys. Hidden stations, sensor arrays, and defense platforms that had been carefully concealed now showed clearly. "Your deception was masterful. One of Ren's officers commented. You let us see an Earth that matched our expectations while hiding your true capabilities. Admiral Park smiled slightly. We learned from Earth's history that appearing weaker than you are can be an advantage. But now that we've shown our true capabilities, we'd prefer to move forward with honest dialogue. The meeting continued for hours, moving from military matters to cultural exchange possibilities. The aliens were particularly interested in Earth's artistic achievements, while the humans showed great curiosity about the Coalition's experiences with other civilizations. There is much we could learn from each other, Ryan said thoughtfully. Your approach to technology, your philosophy of power with restraint, these could benefit the entire Coalition. As the meeting drew to a close, both admirals stood to face each other. The difference in their physical appearances seemed insignificant now compared to the common ground they had found. I will report to the Coalition Council, Ryan declared. I will tell them that Earth is not a world to be conquered, but a civilization to be welcomed as equals. Your demonstration of power, tempered by wisdom, has taught us all a valuable lesson. Admiral Park extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Ryan reached out to accept it. To new beginnings, Park said simply, and to the understanding that true strength lies not in the weapons we possess, but in knowing when not to use them. The first step toward a new future had been taken, built not on conquest, but on mutual respect and the shared pursuit of knowledge. The Grand Hall of the Stellar Coalition headquarters buzzed with activity as representatives from 100 worlds gathered to witness something unprecedented. The Earth delegation stood proudly as the Coalition Council formally recognized humanity as an advanced civilization and potential ally. Admiral Park watched from her position near the Earth ambassador as the Council President spoke. Let it be recorded that we acknowledge Earth not as a world to be integrated, but as a fully recognized member of the galactic community. Back on Earth, changes were happening rapidly. Coalition ships now docked peacefully at the orbital stations, their crews mixing with humans in a growing spirit of cooperation. The Celestial Dawn had become more than just a warship. It was now a symbol of humanity's philosophy toward space exploration. In the command center overlooking the main spaceport, Admiral Park stood at her familiar spot by the viewing window. She watched as vessels from both civilizations moved in careful formation, conducting joint training exercises. The sight of human and alien ships working together still filled her with quiet pride. Captain Kim approached, carrying a data pad with the day's reports. His uniform now bore both Earth Defense Force and Coalition insignia, representing the new spirit of cooperation. The first wave of exchange programs is ready to launch, he reported, his voice containing barely contained excitement. 300 Coalition scientists have requested to study our quantum physics programs. Dr. Lee is organizing the research teams now. Admiral Park nodded, remembering how far they had come in just a few weeks. And our teams. 50 of our best engineers have been cleared to study Coalition fold space technology. The first group leaves next week for their central research facility. Outside, a Coalition transport ship demonstrated its fold space drive, creating a spectacular display as it opened a gateway between points in space. Soon, humanity would understand this technology too, adding it to their own impressive achievements. It's strange, Park mused, how close we came to conflict. If we had revealed our technology differently, or if they had chosen to escalate despite our demonstration. But they didn't, Kim reminded her. Your approach worked perfectly. Show strength through restraint, prove capability through precision. In the orbital shipyards, work had already begun on a new class of vessels that would combine Earth's quantum technology with Coalition fold space drives. Engineers from both civilizations worked side by side, learning from each other. Dr. Lee's voice came through the command center's communication system. Admiral, you should see this. The Coalition scientists just helped us solve a quantum field stability problem we've been working on for months. Their perspective on spatial mathematics is fascinating. A small smile crossed Park's face. Send me the details. And how are they doing with understanding our phase shift technology? Like children with a new toy, Lee replied, chuckling. They've never seen anything like it. We're making breakthroughs daily. The morning sun rose over Earth's horizon, its light catching the hulls of dozens of ships in orbit. Human vessels with their quantum fields shimmering alongside coalition ships with their fold space drives ready. Together, they represented a future that neither civilization had imagined possible just weeks ago. The Coalition Council has approved the Joint Defense Initiative, Captain Kim reported, checking another message. They want the Celestial Dawn to lead the first combined patrol fleet. Admiral Park turned from the window to face her officer. Then we'll show them that humanity's approach to space exploration isn't just about technology. It's about wisdom, ethics, and the understanding that we're all stronger together than apart. As if to emphasize her words, a group of coalition cadets passed by the command center window, deep in conversation with their human counterparts. The future was unfolding before them, full of possibilities that would benefit both civilizations. The sun continued its rise, its light touching the celestial dawn where it rested in its dock. The ship that had prevented a war now stood ready to lead the way into a new era of peace and cooperation. Humanity had proven itself not just technologically advanced, but wise enough to use that advancement for the benefit of all. The morning promised a future brighter than anyone had dared to hope for, built on understanding, respect, and the shared dream of exploring the stars together.